The Real Bio Protocol. Welcome back to the Real Bio Protocol. Cold open. The year is 2013. The FDA issues emergency warnings. Supplements are ripped from shelves across America. They tell you it's gone. They tell you it's dangerous. They tell you the stimulant that made pre-workouts actually work has been eliminated from the market forever. They lied. We just spent 4 months and over $12,000 sending 23 of the most popular underground pre-workout formulas to independent laboratories. What we found should terrify you. Or excite you, depending on which side of this story you're on. Because hiding under 47 different names, buried in proprietary blends, disguised with chemical nomenclature that would make a PhD chemist squint, the banned stimulant DMAA never left. It evolved. It went underground. And right now, there's an entire shadow industry making millions selling new substances the federal government explicitly prohibited a decade ago. The brands know. The retailers know. The influencers pushing these products definitely know. But you've been kept in the dark. Until now. This is the story of the underground pre-workout cartel, the FDA's failed war on stimulants, and why the most effective workout supplement ever created refuses to die. ACT1. The problem. Let's rewind to what the fitness industry looked like before the ban. It was the Wild West. The golden era. Walk into any supplement store in 2011 and you'd find pre-workouts that actually delivered on their promises. Not just caffeine dressed up with fancy marketing. Real, face-melting, tunnel vision-inducing stimulants that turned mediocre workouts into legendary sessions. The king of them all was a compound called 1,3-dimethylamylamine. You know it as DMAA. Originally developed as a nasal decongestant in the 1940s, DMAA found its second life in the supplement industry when companies discovered it produced intense focus, euphoria, and energy that made caffeine look like a children's vitamin. Products like Jack 3D and Oxy Elite Pro became household names. Gym bros worshipped them. Sales exploded into the hundreds of millions. Then people started dying, or so the story goes. The FDA linked DMAA to 86 adverse event reports and 5 deaths between 2008 and 2013. Headlines screamed about heart attacks, strokes, and liver failure. The agency moved fast, issuing warning letters to manufacturers and effectively forcing the compound off the market. And here's where the mainstream narrative stops. The fitness industry accepted it. Media moved on. Everyone just agreed that DMAA was dangerous, the ban was justified, and we should all be grateful the government protected us from ourselves. But nobody asked the obvious questions. 86 adverse events out of how many doses? Hundreds of millions sold over 5 years, and 86 people reported problems? That's an adverse event rate so low it would make aspirin jealous. Aspirin kills over 3,000 Americans annually. Where's the ban on that? And those 5 deaths? When you dig into the actual case reports, published in legitimate medical journals, you find the same pattern over and over. Users who combined DMAA with other stimulants. Users with pre-existing cardiovascular conditions. Users who took doses far exceeding any reasonable recommendation. One case involved a soldier who took 3 scoops of Jack 3D, ran 2 miles in the Texas heat, and collapsed. Was DMAA the killer? Or was it user error amplified by media hysteria? Here's what the FDA didn't tell you. They never proved DMAA caused a single death. The agency's own scientists admitted in internal documents that establishing causation was, quote, extremely difficult given the confounding variables present in each case. They banned it anyway. The supplement industry watched a compound with legitimate performance benefits get erased from the market based on correlation, not causation. Based on fear, not science. Based on politics, not pharmacology. And manufacturers learned a valuable lesson. If you can't beat the FDA, you hide from them. ACT2. The hidden truth. When we started this investigation, we expected to find a few rogue brands still slipping DMAA into their formulas. What we uncovered was an entire parallel economy. Our methodology was simple. We purchased 23 pre-workout supplements from online retailers, underground vendors, and international sources. We selected brands based on user reports claiming old-school effects, forum discussions about the real stuff, and products with suspiciously vague ingredient labels. Every sample was sent to an independent analytical laboratory specializing in supplement verification. We tested for DMAA and its structural analogs using high-performance liquid chromatography and mass spectrometry. The same techniques the FDA uses. The results destroyed everything we thought we knew about supplement regulation. 14 of 23 products tested positive for DMAA or DMAA analogs. That's 61% of our sample containing a federally prohibited substance. But here's where it gets insane. Only 2 of those 14 actually listed anything resembling DMAA on their labels. The other 12? Hidden under names designed specifically to evade detection and confuse consumers. Let me read you some of what we found on these labels. 1. 3-dimethylbutylamine, 2-amino-4-methylpentane, 4-methylpentane 2-amine, methylhexanamine, geranium extract, geranamine, 4-thane, 2-amino-6-methylheptane, DMHA, DMBA, octadrene, different names, same stimulant, or close structural relatives designed to produce identical effects while technically being different compounds. The underground pre-workout cartel didn't just survive the ban. They became experts in chemical nomenclature, regulatory loopholes, and plausible deniability. We spoke with a former formulator for a major supplement brand who agreed to talk anonymously. What he told us was chilling. Everyone in the industry knows what's happening. The labs in China that synthesize these compounds, they send you a menu. You want the original one, 3? They have it. You want something structurally similar that hasn't been explicitly banned yet? They have 20 options. You pick your poison, they ship it with whatever certificate of analysis you want, and you put it in your product under a name nobody's ever heard of. He continued. The FDA doesn't have the resources to test every pre-workout on the market. They respond to adverse events. As long as nobody dies publicly, as long as the news doesn't pick it up, you can sell whatever you want for years before they notice. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is business strategy. And the brands exploiting these loopholes? Some of them are household names. We found DMAA analogs in products sold on major e-commerce platforms, pushed by influencers with millions of followers, reviewed positively by mainstream fitness publications. The banned stimulant didn't disappear. It got better at hiding. ACT3. The mechanism. Now you might be wondering, why does any of this matter? If DMAA and its cousins are so dangerous, why would anyone want them in the first place? Why do underground formulators risk federal prosecution to keep them on the market? Because DMAA works. Not like caffeine works. Not like beta-alanine makes your skin tingle so you think something's happening. DMAA produces genuine, measurable, replicable performance enhancement through mechanisms that most legal stimulants can't match. Let's get into the pharmacology. DMAA is classified as an indirect sympathomimetic amine. In plain English, it mimics the effects of your body's own adrenaline and noradrenaline, but through an indirect pathway that makes it more potent and longer-lasting than direct receptor agonists. When you consume DMAA, it crosses the blood-brain barrier rapidly due to its lipophilic structure. Once in the central nervous system, it triggers release of catecholamines from presynaptic nerve terminals. It also inhibits their reuptake, meaning the adrenaline and noradrenaline your body produces sticks around longer, amplifying the signal. The result? Massively increased alertness, laser-like focus, elevated pain threshold, enhanced mind-muscle connection. The subjective experience users describe as tunnel vision or being locked in. But DMAA does something else that makes it unique among stimulants. It produces modest euphoria through dopaminergic activity. Not enough to be considered recreational. Just enough to make your workout feel good. To make the weights feel lighter. To make that last set feel possible instead of impossible. Compare this to caffeine, which works primarily as an adenosine receptor antagonist. Caffeine blocks the tiredness signal. That's useful, but it's defensive. It prevents drowsiness without actively enhancing performance. DMAA plays offense. It adds capabilities rather than just preventing deficits. There's also evidence from exercise science literature, published before the ban, showing DMAA improved time to exhaustion in trained athletes by 8 to 12% when combined with caffeine. A 2012 study in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that DMAA-containing supplements increased peak power output and reduced perceived exertion compared to placebo. These aren't cherry-picked studies from predatory journals. This is legitimate research showing legitimate effects. Now here's the part the FDA never addressed. The therapeutic window for DMAA is actually quite wide. Effective doses for performance enhancement range from 25 to 75 milligrams. Doses that would cause cardiovascular concern start around 200 milligrams, and only in susceptible individuals. The adverse events that triggered the ban? Multiple case reports involved doses exceeding 150 milligrams. Some involved stacking DMAA with other stimulants like synephrine, yohimbine, or massive quantities of caffeine. This isn't DMAA being dangerous. This is basic pharmacology being ignored. Caffeine has a similar problem. 400 milligrams is considered safe for most adults. 2,000 milligrams can kill you. We don't ban caffeine because idiots exist. But DMAA got special treatment. And now millions of athletes who could benefit from reasonable doses are either denied access entirely or forced into an unregulated underground market where quality control doesn't exist and dose accuracy is a gamble. Which brings us to the real danger the FDA created. ACT4, real-world application. Here's the reality you need to understand. Whether you agree with the ban or think it was regulatory overreach, DMAA and its analogs exist in the current supplement marketplace. You might be taking them right now without knowing it, or you might be deliberately seeking them out based on gym lore and forum recommendations. Either way, you need information, not ignorance. If you're using underground pre-workouts or considering them, here's what our investigation suggests you should know. First, assume the label is lying. Our testing found zero correlation between what labels claimed and what products contained. Brands listing geranium extract at 100 mg actually contain synthetic DMAA at concentrations up to 85 mg per serving. Other brands listing DMAA analogs at specific doses were off by factors of 2 or 3. You have no idea what you're actually taking. None. Second, start impossibly low. If you acquire a product you suspect contains DMAA or analogs, begin with a quarter scoop. Maybe less. Assess your response over multiple sessions before increasing. The underground market has no quality control. One batch might contain 40 mg per serving. The next might contain 120. Consistent dosing is a myth in this space. Third, never stack stimulants blindly. The common factor in nearly every DMAA-associated adverse event was polypharmacy. Combining DMAA with high-dose caffeine, with ephedrine, with yohimbine, with prescription stimulants. Each of these compounds alone might be manageable. Together, they create unpredictable cardiovascular stress. If you're using a DMAA product, limit caffeine to 200 mg or less from all sources. Avoid any other sympathomimetic compounds. Don't take pre-workout after 2 p.m. if you sleep before midnight. Fourth, know your cardiovascular status. If you have any history of heart arrhythmia, hypertension, or cardiovascular disease, these compounds are not for you. Period. Get a basic cardiac workup if you're unsure. Blood pressure, resting heart rate, maybe an EKG if you're over 30. The cost of a checkup is dramatically lower than the cost of an emergency room visit. Fifth, demand transparency from brands. If a company won't tell you exactly what's in their product and at what dose, they're either hiding something illegal or hiding incompetence. Neither is acceptable when you're putting substances in your body. The practical reality is this. Informed users who respect pharmacology and their own physiology can likely use DMAA-containing products without significant risk. The dangers come from ignorance, recklessness, and an unregulated market that has zero incentive to protect you. You have to protect yourself. ACT5. The bigger picture. Step back from the pre-workout debate for a moment and look at what's actually happening here. A regulatory agency made a decision in 2013 based on incomplete evidence and political pressure. That decision didn't eliminate DMAA from the marketplace. It eliminated quality control. It eliminated accurate labeling. It eliminated informed consent. The people who wanted DMAA kept getting it. But now they get it from underground sources with unknown purity, unknown concentration, and zero accountability. This is the pattern with every prohibited substance. Demand doesn't disappear. Supply goes underground. And consumers end up less safe than they were before the ban. Meanwhile, who benefited? The pharmaceutical industry, which sells prescription stimulants for ADHD at massive markups while demonizing similar compounds sold over the counter. The mainstream supplement industry, which couldn't compete with DMAA-containing products on efficacy, so they lobbied for the ban and now sell you overpriced caffeine with fancy marketing. The FDA itself, which justified its budget and expanded its authority by claiming victory over a dangerous substance while the actual marketplace moved beyond their reach. You didn't benefit. The athlete looking for legal, safe performance enhancement didn't benefit. The consumer who deserved accurate information and quality-controlled products didn't benefit. This is the game. Regulate the legal market into uselessness, force demand underground, then point to the underground market as proof that regulation works. We tested 23 products. 14 contained prohibited substances. Some are sold openly on major platforms. Some are pushed by influencers who know exactly what they're promoting. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. Just not for you. The science is out there. They just don't want you finding it. That's why we're here. This is the Real Bio Protocol.